if the video doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But I still have some other stuff planned. So most of you guys know I traveled for about 11 months around South Africa, Central America, and most of South America. Basically, I did a total of 16 countries in 11 months with a team of 14 people. 9 girls, 6 guys. It has interesting times for sure. There's a lot to say in a little time to say it. And basically, I'm just going to go through the points that I have taken out there. All right, well, I'm going to kind of start where it all began. I don't know if many of you guys know my past before this year. Well, it wasn't a very nice past. Some of you know little bits of it, some of you know more, but more or less the short story is I was involved with drugs for a long time. For over a year for sure. It made me miss out in school. I was getting into the wrong crowd. I was going to parties. I wasn't a good person. That was pretty clear. Yes, I was coming to church. I was attending youth group, but it's one of those things where you come because your parents go, because your friends go. You're not going because that's where your heart's at. And I mean, basically, I can say today that I'm here because that's where my heart's at. Where to start? Well, Global Challenge was the name of the organization that I was with. Basically, they're a non-profit organization based out of South Africa, a little surfing town called Jeffreys Bay. I think they started at least 15 years ago, and they've been sending out teams, sometimes 5 teams, sometimes 1 team, basically every year since then, as well as short-term missions that they send out. I was a part of one of the 3 teams that went out in 2015. My team was called Hidden World. Basically, we went to, well, the Hidden World. You don't hear much of South America. Other teams traveled to more touristy places. You can go to Rome and other Europe and Middle East and places where people go. But we went to those places where it's kind of the unknown, where people don't find missionaries and stuff like that. So, yeah, basically I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I first went there. I originally signed up because some of you know my cousin Danica did a journey, I don't know how many, 3 years ago now, and I thought it was really cool. So my original motivation was, well, I'm fresh out of high school, let's go do a year of travel around South America. Seems like cool people, why not? I like traveling. And, well, I mean, my whole world turned upside down as soon as I got there. I drive up to the organization, can't understand half the people because they've got thicker accents than Russians. And I'm trying to speak to these people. I don't fit in with them at all. I had earrings at the time. I was wearing my fancy watches and my hats and stuff. And they were all like, well, he doesn't look like a person who's going to fit in here. Basically, it was like a whole big group of really Jesus-loving people. And I was like, I don't like this. It took me a couple days to kind of warm up to the idea that I was going to be with these people for the next 11 months. I didn't like it at first, and I didn't like it during the year a couple times, because I mean, as you can imagine, being with the same group of people in close quarters for 11 months isn't always fun. We did 2 months of training in South Africa, a very wide variety of training between how to properly read the Bible, how to prepare a sermon, how to prepare a speech, how to go out and evangelize, and whatever. Basically the whole basis, how to safely travel, kind of give you a kind of how to learn languages easier and different stuff as you travel to countries with unknown languages. Well, not unknown, but to be unknown. And we also did something kind of for me where it all began. We did something called Luke 10. in training. And in the Bible, Luke 10 talks about where Jesus sends out his disciples in groups of to cities and towns and places where they don't know of Jesus yet. And they tell them to go and bring the good word. They tell them, go with nothing, just go as yourself, and as a town will accept you and receive what they have to offer for you being paid for your works. And you will go to these people and you will preach the good news, heal the sick, and tell them the kingdom of God is near. And so that's what we did. We were split into not groups of two, we were split into groups of 4 and 5 at the time, some smaller, some bigger. And basically they said, here's a map, decide what you want to take, and you need to go. So we sat down with our team. I sat down with, we were a team of 4. Basically, we looked at a map, and I mean, I'm not from South Africa, so I don't know any places there. I still don't know. I've been there for 3 months, and we sit down, we find a place, and we're like, we just need to go. Basically, I mean, I could tell this story for half an hour. I could spend the whole time speaking of this story, but long story short, God provided rides for us, God provided places for us, food for us, and I ate better on that Luke 10 than I did the whole year. When I traveled with nothing but my clothes. We went out, we went hitchhiking, and people driving the opposite way were stopping to pick us up and then taking us in the wrong direction they were going. Like, it was, for me, it was mind-blowing. At one point I told God, I was like, you have to slow down here because I can't comprehend everything that's happening. Like, this is the first week here, like, baby steps. But, yeah, we basically, the first day of that, we met somebody, a lady who was barren for 15 years. She couldn't have any kids. And we met her, and she was, it talks about also in Luke 10, people of peace, like a person of peace. Basically, they are people who will take you in, look after you, or send you on your way in the right direction. And she was a woman of peace to us. Basically, we looked around, she had a farm there, she invited us in, she gave us some food to eat and some water and stuff as it was getting later in the day, and we're like, well, I mean, we're heading into this town and this and that, and she's like, well, don't worry, I'll give you a ride. So she offers us a ride into the next town, and we get there and we decide, well, we'll pray for her. Why not, right? We're Christians, that's what we should do. We should pray for healing for this person. We're on a faith journey, we should probably pray for the lady. So we pray for her and go on with our day. We find other people, and basically, long story short, 4 days went by. We didn't miss a meal. We had beds to sleep in every night, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. Also, in that time, 3 of our team members were healed of their allergies. Another one healed of their lactose. They were lactose intolerant. I don't know. Some of you guys know what it's called. I don't. But yeah, basically, he couldn't eat white bread or rice or anything of that sort. And traveling South America on $1 a day for 3 meals, you kind of eat a lot of bread and rice, a lot of white bread and rice. So he knew he was in for some struggles, and basically we just trusted God for that, and he was healed. And he hadn't struggled with it for the rest of his year. So, yeah, basically to loop around back to the end of the year, we went back to visit those people again, because we thought they were kind of in the area we drive and see them. And the lady who was barren for 15 years was now pregnant. It was such a big answer to God. And I mean, for me, you don't usually see those fruits. I mean, a woman doesn't get pregnant overnight and then you can tell, right? And to be able to leave and to come back and see those fruits from the beginning of the year, to be so small in faith, but still see somebody healed of something that big is amazing. I'm off track. Yeah, and I mean, I'll tell you a little bit of a kind of, I think a lot of you have probably heard this story. It's probably one of my favorites. It's an adventure story. As traveling, we traveled on very little budget, always as cheap as we could, and through dodgy bus terminals and different stuff. It wasn't very nice. We slept a lot of nights in airports and bus terminals, sometimes on the side of the road. Sometimes we would just set up our tents on an open lot somewhere. We would travel cheap. At this point, we were heading through Peru, and we were on our way to Bolivia. We approached the border, and our bus had all this stuff on it, and we get off, and we have to go through customs now. We have to check out of Peru and go into Bolivia. As we are going through, everything looks fine, and we've done a lot of research on visas if they're necessary or not, and nothing came out. We called a lot of people. Previous teams that have gone didn't say you needed them. So as we arrived at the Bolivian border, I was going first. I was one of the heads of the travel team at the time, and a few other people went through as well, another Canadian girl and a guy from France, and a Peruvian as well that we were traveling with. And everything was going fine until the first South African went through. And they paused for a little bit, they look at his passport and they tell him, sorry sir, I can't let you through unless you have a visa. He's like, no, I've done my research, I don't need visas. He's like, well, you actually do, and if you don't have one, it's going to cost you $160 right now. And for South Africans, that's a lot of money. I mean, even for myself, that's a lot of money at this point. And so for, how many South Africans were there? It was nine South Africans at $160 each. We didn't have the money. Our team didn't have the money. So at this point, the bus is going through the border with all of our stuff on it. All of our luggage, backpacks, everything. All we have on us is basically our passports and our wallets. So the borders there are very lenient. You can kind of walk back and forth. It's very relaxed, like people bike back and forth. It's very chill. And so we walk and we eventually find the bus and we tell them, the bus driver, our situation. And we realized kind of how it was going when the bus driver told us, you have 20 minutes to sort this out, otherwise I'm leaving. We had ridden this bus for about an hour at this point. We had another 14 to go. So we were just at the beginning of our journey. Well, of course, we start praying and we try and sort out the situation, and it doesn't work. We talk to the bus driver with a couple minutes to spare, and we take all of our stuff off the bus. We walk back to the Peru side and we sit there and we're like, well, we don't know what's next. We're stuck in between the Peru-Bolivia border and there's nowhere to go. So some of us who had gotten into Bolivia successfully had to now check out of Bolivia and go back into Peru. I was the last one, as the other three people went first. And I went and I showed the guy my passport. I said, hey, I'd like to leave Bolivia. And he looks at it, flips through a little bit, and he says, sorry, I can't let you leave. You have to be within the country for 24 hours before you can leave. I was like, come here, Nicola, come here. This is my friend, he's from France. He was just in front of me. He came through, and now I can't. He's like, sorry, sir. I was like, I don't have any money to give this guy, right? I can't bribe him. And that's what they're looking for, basically. We figured out later it's due to corruption. So I took my passport back, kindly smiled, and said, thank you, sir, I'm going to go back to my team now. So I walk back there, and I go back to the Peru side. Like I said, it's very back and forth, and I go and talk to my team, and I explain to them, I said, this is the issue. So now we are stuck on the Peru side. There's no hotels, no nothing around. We're right at the border crossing, and one of our team members, which is myself, is stuck in Bolivia, theoretically. So we decided, we're like, well, what are our options? And we're like, well, we could wait until there's a shift change or something, and this and that, but it was just new people that had come on. We're like, we can't wait a couple hours for this. So, thinking on our feet, I put on one of the girls' ponchos, I took one of her brown leather bags, I took our Frenchman's hat, one of the girls' glasses. I walk back with a little skip in my step, and I walk up to the officer. I was like, hello, officer, I'd like to leave the country, please. Same guy and everything. He's like, oh, no problem. Takes my passport, stamps it, gives it back to me. That's kind of the level of corruption that we had to deal with basically the whole year. And I mean, I could tell travel stories the whole time. There's a lot of funny ones, there's a lot of dangerous ones, there's a lot of sick ones. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones. Is the video working yet? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
I could lip sync for him. All right, well, I'm going to keep talking. My next topic is God providing for us. I don't know how I'm doing for time. Yeah, basically God providing for us. Now, this is something that blew me away every single day, basically. Like I said before, we were living on $1 a day for 3 meals. Now, a place like this, it's nearly impossible. A lot of places in South America, it's also nearly impossible. Now, I don't look like I lost a lot of weight, but I didn't, because God provided for us. Every step of the way we went, God was always there looking after us. There was times where people would show up with just boxes. Random people from the street, we'd be sitting there camped out, and they would show up with boxes of, they'd say, here, this is what you want. I have some rice for you, this and that, peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies and whatever. Like, it's just stuff that blows you away, right? And we're sitting there in Jamaica. This was about halfway through the journey. This was about halfway through the journey, and this was where I was really beginning to trust God. I had no money at this point due to travel and everything else. I bought a lot of snacks often because that's the only way I was kind of staying alive. It got to a point where I was running out of all of my toiletries at the same time. Conveniently, it was in Jamaica where none of my cards were working and our team had very little money. So what I did was I turned to God. I said, God, I mean, it's something as simple as deodorant, as toothpaste, as a toothbrush, as soap. That's what I need. And I'm coming to you for it because I can't do it on my own. And it's kind of sad when you get to that point. I mean, it's such little things. It's like, I mean, $15, you can get those things. But I didn't have it. And basically, I went on with my day without thinking much about it, and I come back to the church where we were staying, which was also like a prison, because there's big walls and gates and everything. It's not a very nice place there. I don't recommend going. Anybody, Jamaica's not nice. And I get back and I walk down to the kitchen and I see this big box that's sitting there. Again, I'm like, oh, brown boxes, that's good. I've had good experience with them before, so I go and I look at them, and again, there's a big bag of rice, there's these tubs of Nestea iced tea mix, there's cookies, there's soup mix, there's all of this. And little did I know, I talked to my teammates later, and this was all stuff that they had been praying for as well. One of my team leader, he was praying for chocolate chip cookies because he has a deep craving for them, like all the time. And he's sitting there, and I mean, nobody prayed for rice because we had a lot of rice, but I mean, that's a given, you get rice. But peanut butter and different things, and it ended up being the pastor's son that bought this stuff for us. And I heard the story later. Basically, he went to the supermarket with his mom, and he said, I need to pick up some things for the team that's staying at our church. And she's like, well, okay, you can pick up some food and stuff. And she was shopping with him, and when he would go to start picking up things like 2-minute noodles and peanut butter and these weird combinations and stuff, she's like, no, you can't do this. These are missionaries. You can't just show up with weird things like this. And he's just like, shh, I'm listening. And he'd go and he'd pick up piece by piece by piece by piece. And it was everything that we prayed for was given to us. Not only that, when I went upstairs, there was another brown box. I was like, well, what can go wrong now? In that box was more than enough toothbrushes for our entire team, more than enough soap, more than enough toilet paper, soap, just toothpaste, everything that was needed. And I found out later I wasn't the only one praying for it either. And just to see God's provision, I mean, that's such a small story compared to the things like we received, I mean, well over $10,000 on our team this year of people just giving us money. We would see pastors, we would say, like, they would take us in, they would pay for everything for us, accommodation, food, the whole time we'd be there. We would live like kings, and we would say we want to give back to them when we leave. We draw $1,000 of cash because that's all of our money. We gave it to them. That's what we felt God calling us. The guy turns back and gives us double. At the same time, envelope switch. We give him 1,000, he gives us 2,000 back. We're like, you can't outgive God. And it was just, I mean, time after time again of God's amazing giving and his just how he looks after his sons and daughters was absolutely amazing. And I think often we don't realize that living in a first world country, it's easy to have your comforts. It's easy to be able to sit down on your couch and sip your coffee out of your espresso machine at home and eat breakfast and watch your Netflix and your TV on demand and different stuff. But I mean, there's people out there that live like that every day, that they have to rely on God every single day because they don't have what we have. And my next bit goes to God. Oh, that didn't happen. I'm sure you can tell I'm slightly nervous, but that's okay. It's just an iPhone. God, what was I going to say now? God's calling to us, and to me in particular. The reason why this all began is because God called me, because God put that desire in my heart, because He pushed me in the right directions to get me to South Africa. I'm sure He knew I wasn't going to like it at first and didn't want to be there at first, but He knew what the outcome was going to be like. And that's why. And I mean, what I always look back at was, in my old life, there was always this place that I wanted to be, this thing that was missing in me. There was something always not there. And I realized after this that was my relationship with Jesus. And I realized that I now have that. I now have what I was missing. And I've never been happier in my life. Like there's so much joy that comes from serving the Lord. I wish every one of you guys could go for a year. I mean, it's difficult for people. A year's a long time. A lot of people aren't able to give up that much of their time. But I wish everybody here was able to do that, because it changes your life. It changes everything about you. It changes your values, your views, everything. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And another thing is, a calling doesn't just bring us, let's say, to the nations, to places, South America, Middle East, South Africa. It can be to your neighbor down the street. It can be to the people you see at work, the people you see at school, at college, wherever. Because God calls us every single day. And it's difficult. It is. I mean, it's stepping out of your comfort zone. And it's not easy to do. But once you step up, how much your eyes open and what God does once you step up is absolutely amazing. And I hope the video works now.